After 3 years at Notre Dame, Al Golden is back here in Cincinnati as the Bengals Defensive Coordinator. Does this feel like a homecoming?
Absolutely. This is really the only home my kids know. You know, my son went to St. X, my girls are at Summit, and this is the community that we didn't want to move them out of when we did take the new opportunity. So I don't even have to relocate. I'm the cheapest relocation in the history of coaching here at Cincinnati, but it's a blessing to be home and be surrounded by so many friends and family.
Well, it certainly suggests how much you and your family loved it here. Why? What was it about Cincinnati?
The community, the relationships, starting with this building, starting with Zach, and obviously the culture that he's created, and the Brown family, and certainly the tentacles that that reached out to my kids' friends, their parents, all of those things, the high school relationships, all those things. So it's a blessing to be back.
What about the job itself? What appeals to you about being the defensive coordinator of the Bengals?
Well, number one, the organization. I loved the organization when I was here, and the family atmosphere of it, the leadership of Zach. I enjoyed going to work every day. And working with Zach and working with Darren Simmons and some of the people that I'm seeing already today upstairs, Duke, and I can go on and on. But that, at the end of the day, everything's brick and mortar, but it's the people that endure in your mind and the relationships. And for me, that was a big part of it. And obviously to be here now with what's already here and what's already set up, and obviously having somebody like Joe being the leader of the organization and being your quarterback makes it ultra attractive.
I've seen some of these words associated with you as a football coach: flexible, energetic, collaborative. What are the core principles of a Al Golden defense?
Well, it all starts with the acronym BEST, right? So number one, ball disruption. Put a premium on that. Our number one job is to support our quarterback, and people are like, what does that mean as a defensive coordinator? We got to get him the ball. So that's our number one job. Give him opportunities. The E in BEST is effort and attitude and finish. The S is situational masters. Just being great in the red zone, being awesome on third down, understanding how to conduct a 2-minute drill and things of that nature. And then T is tackling. So those are the things that we really pride ourselves on. More than that, the overarching theme of our defense is empowerment. So at the end of the day, whether it's Logan, the safeties, whoever it is, they have to make the decisions on the grass, and we have to empower them as coaches to make the decisions and get us in the best defense and make sure everybody's playing one unified call.
You were here when the Bengals drafted Logan Wilson and obviously helped develop him. How significant is it to have him still here to incorporate your defense?
I just can't wait to see him, to be honest with you. He was one of my favorite players of all time, just the way he conducted himself, the pro that he is. I know he got banged up a little bit last year, so I know he's going to have a little edge to him, and I want to help him every way I can, maximize and become the best player that he can possibly be, the best leader. And I just can't wait to get to work with him.
Notre Dame was number one in the country each of the last 2 years in pass efficiency defense. That is obviously so important in the NFL right now. What are some of the keys to defending the pass?
I think you have to be flexible. You said it earlier. I don't think you can be rigid in your system, and you have to have an offense. You have to have a defense that looks at the offense every week and says who and what can cause you to lose, and then obviously be malleable enough that you can adopt and adjust to what they do best and try to eliminate that. So part of being really good in pass defense is you're not afraid to play different coverages. It can't just be locked into one thing, but give the quarterback different looks pre-snap, change the look post-snap, and just make sure you have enough that you're trying to direct the ball away from the things that they do best.
How do you do that and be complex for the opposing team's quarterback but still play fast?
Well, I think the biggest part of that is to understand that the offseason is critical. If you want to play fast during the season, you got to push yourself through the offseason. So the teaching, the OTAs, the mini camps, all of those things are going to be critical. And I'm a big believer in not walking in on a Tuesday and creating something, but rather drawing from the reservoir and saying, okay, this is why we put this in. We put this in for this quarterback and this wide receiver or this tight end, and this is the week we're going to use it. And now all of a sudden their players have recall, and that's what breeds, confidence. That's what breeds success and ultimately allows them to play fast.
How valuable is your time in the AFC North?
Well, I think it's really valuable. Everything that we're going to do is on the backdrop of the AFC North. So, how we take the ball away, how we tackle, the drills that we do, the things that we need to, defend, are all going to be on the backdrop of the AFC North in the off season. So, everything starts with the division. That's how we got there the last time, once you get in the tournament, we're going to be tough to beat with the quarterback that we have.
How close these days are coaching a college defense and coaching an NFL defense?
I think that's a great question because it's blurred a lot more than it was a decade ago. You just see, more quarterback runs now, more RPOs, and I think the biggest thing that college teaches you is you have to have a very, very flexible system because you could be playing Navy one week and then Florida State the next week or USC. So every offense is of its own DNA, and you got to be able to be flexible enough and have a system that can bend and contort to solve the problems that each presents.
You mentioned Joe Burrow earlier. You've got Joe, you've got Jamar Chase, you've got tremendous players on offense that are obviously well compensated, as they should be. They're worth every penny, but that means there's less money to spend elsewhere, and the Bengals are going to have young players on defense. That's just the way it works. Is your college experience helpful in developing those young guys?
I think development is at the core of everything that we do on defense and making sure that we're great at ball disruption. We're awesome at tackling and that we understand the situations. And then once the guys understand that this is what we want, how do we refine it and quality control it and get better? And ultimately, to empower means to give them the culture so that they're handing it down to the next group. Or, if the veterans come in and they're learning it, now we draft some guys or bring some guys in that they can manage it in the locker room. And that's how it catches fire. And so I think if we're going to be young, that's great, but it doesn't mean we can't execute at a really, really high level. And there are no excuses at this level, and certainly, we're on the clock, and we got to get to work.
As you know from your previous experience here, the assistant coaches have a significant voice in the drafting process and in the free agency process. Is that something that appealed to you about coming back?
No question. I think it's a very, very collaborative system in terms of that process, the free agency and then ultimately the draft. And I loved being a part of that. I loved having a voice and more than anything, just share the vision. It was the vision of the linebackers, 4 and 5 years ago. And now it's more just the vision of how we see the pieces coming together and what we need to really operate, for a 21-game season.
What are some of the biggest things you look for when evaluating defensive talent?
I think football IQ is really important. I always say it's pretty easy to see guys that are outstanding on tape. You can look at them and see that they're just different athletically. But what's going to endure in this locker room and in the NFL in general is the process, right? Do they have a process? Are they gym rats? Do they love being around the film room? Are they hanging around the weight room? Are they trying to get extras, stretching and things of that nature? What's their football IQ like? Are they audible? Are they demonstrative? Did they lead their defense? If you're looking at linebackers, did you run your defense? It's really important. Safeties, communication. Those are just some of the things. I mean, I can go on and on, but I think ultimately, you have to have a bunch of guys that are confident, that were leaders in their organization, that are verbal and can solve problems on the grass. Because the way offense is these days, a lot of it, you can't have the perfect call. You got to get us into a call that everybody's on the same page, and we can operate as one.
You've got the NFL sack leader on your defense in Trey Hendrickson. Obviously, you worked with Trey in the Super Bowl season in 2021. What's he mean to the Cincinnati defense?
Fierce competitor. I just remember what a fierce competitor he was and how much it meant to him. And ultimately, our job is going to be to, number one, get them into passing downs, get them into throwing downs, get them into third and longer so that we can use his strengths. And then from there, our job is to get him the matchup that we need for him to continue to play at a really, really high level. And I've always admired him from day one, just how explosive he was and how tough he was and how competitive he was. And, the one thing about that Super Bowl year, Trey, played his best when his best was needed. And he was, awesome there, and I can't wait to be reacquainted with him.
Is it a priority to add pass rushing help?
Always. If you have an offense that scores, and you could take the ball away and be good in the red zone and be good on third down, you hope you're playing with a lead a lot. And if you're playing with a lead, you got to have pass rushers. And that doesn't just mean the four down. Pass rushers can come from anywhere in terms of the linebacker group, longer linebackers, guys that can move to the edge or move around and give us rushes anywhere. But it's all about finding the matchups that you need on third down and obviously making sure that everybody that contributes on defense is doing what they do best.
Do you feel like it's important to add size inside, particularly playing 6 games in the AFC North?
No doubt, especially with the running attacks that we'll see. I haven't looked at the schedule yet overall. That's something we'll do in the offseason. But obviously if you can stop the run, and more importantly than that is you can't always play an outnumbered box in this day and age in the NFL. And so you need some guys that can gap in a half or get the ball on the ground without having an outnumbered box. And I think that's where the scheme is important. That's where having that size and strength and those are the guys that we're hoping to move forward with in the future.
What's your base?
Well, 4-2 nickel is the base. If it was 12 or 21 personnel, probably 4-3. But it's going to be flexible. It's not just this is we're not just wooden statues. We try to provide different looks and be crafty with that. And I think once we get in here and we see our personnel, we'll do what our guys do best.
Notre Dame had a Viper position.
Yep.
What is that, and is that something you will try to incorporate in Cincinnati?
What do we call him here? The rush, or what's he called here? Do you know?
The combination kind of outside linebacker rush end?
Yeah, so it's I think that's what it was called here when I left. It's the same thing. It's just different nomenclature, but at the end of the day, somebody that has the flexibility to rush the passer, but enough athleticism to drop, and obviously enough length to set the edge when called on.
Any thoughts on how to try to avoid a slow start?
Well, I think when you talk about something like that, I think that's more we get together, pitch, Coach Simmons, myself, Zach, the staff in general, and that's kind of an in-house thing. Like, what do we need to do in-house wise to solve that problem? Because obviously that's a sensitive subject in terms of, we all know that that's something that will be on the docket this offseason in terms of starting faster. But in terms of giving you ideas, I think that would it's best to keep that in-house and work through Zach on that.
What are some of the first things on your plate for this job?
Well, take a deep breath. Make sure we get the right guys on the bus in terms of hiring, and make sure everybody's compatible with what we want to do. That's really important. There's so many great coaches in the NFL, and the most important thing is compatibility and supporting each other and making sure you're all on the same page in terms of what you want to teach. I think the other thing then is the acquisition of talent. Where do we need to go, and whether it's the retention of certain guys, but those are all the decisions that are going to be made here in the next month, and I'm looking forward to getting to work on that, and obviously getting reacquainted with so many guys that we shared great things with a couple of years ago.
How closely have you stayed in contact with Zach, and how closely have you followed the team?
I'm not a big phone guy or whatever, but I think the one thing is just how much respect that I've had for Zach, and just wishing him good luck, and then he doing the same, or whether Darren Simmons or Joey Bose or whoever it is, just guys that I have an incredible familiarity with, respect for, and then just knowing how hard it is, to win and win consistently, and just making sure those guys know we're always thinking of them. We were great fans when we weren't here, and just honored to be back and call ourselves Bengals again.
What are your most vivid memories of Super Bowl 56?
Probably the most vivid memory is probably not a great one. It was when the confetti was falling. It was surreal, that it was over and we came up short. And I think having been in the last game of the year, 3 years apart is something special. And I know Zach feels this way. We got to do everything we can to get back there and hopefully rewrite that last little script.
You came down to meet with me right after being upstairs and meeting with Mike Brown. What is it about Mike that allowed you to develop a tight bond with him?
Number one, he's so easy to talk to. It's like talking to your father or grandfather. I just think he's a people's person. He's part of the fabric of the community. And that's the thing, I think, just the family, you walk in and you get hugs. From Katie and Troy and Elizabeth and Caroline and PB, and you feel like you're part of a family, and it makes you feel good because you feel like that in some way maybe you improved it the last time you were here, and maybe that's why this opportunity was available now. But Mr. Brown is, it's amazing for him, to be. Still hands-on, and it means the world to him. And what would be more meaningful for all of us to bring a championship to him?
There are a lot of Cincinnati connections on the Notre Dame staff. Marcus Freeman, obviously,
Yeah.
Gino Gaduli, Mike Mickens, and others. Did you guys talk about Cincinnati frequently while you were
Crazy.
together?
Well, we're all fans. I mean, we all wanted the Bengals to win. Doug Rossfeld, he was coaching at Muller when I was, head coach in college. So I would go by there, or he sent us some players and that kind of thing. So just the connections are there's no escaping those connections. And the one thing that everybody says is the same thing: the sense of community here, how special the place is, and it's a place that a lot of people love to call home. These high schools in this area, this is like colleges in other places. The alumni, the sense of family, and it doesn't matter, where you go in this area. It's just amazing how proud people are to say that I went to Moeller, I went to St. X, I went to Elder. I can go on, but you get the idea. It's just a really special place.
You've been a very successful college head coach at Temple in Miami. You've coached offense and defense in the NFL. You've been a defensive coordinator at a couple of stops in college football. How have all of these experiences added up to make you the person that can help take the Cincinnati defense to the next level?
Well, I think you talked earlier about being flexible and being collaborative. I think those are everybody wants to be empowered, and how people work best is when you give them a job to do, and then you give them all the resources, time, energy they need to be successful on it. And for me, I think I do a really good job in plotting the course and then letting the guys work, and being there to support every step of the way. And I think whatever it takes for us to add up to more. Like at the end of the day, that's what the NFL is. It's like NASCAR, right? Everybody's got the same car, everybody's got the same tires, everybody's got the same gas. How does our culture, the collective capacity of our people, create more value on any given Sunday than our opponents? And that's what we're trying to do. And I think that starts with our leadership and Zach and Darren and Pitch and myself. And obviously, if everybody on the staff feels like they have a voice and they feel like they have something to contribute, then man, we're gonna, ideas are important.
Great to have you back. Appreciate your
Excited
time.
to
Look
be
forward
back.
to working with you again.
Great to see you.
All
Thank
right.
you.
That's Al Golden.